After a winter of waiting, it was finally time for MotoGP to roar back into action as 2023 kicked off at the SepangTest in Malaysia. Taking top spot on day 1 of 3 was the same factory that we saw conquer last season, but a new name, as 2022 Rookie of the Year Marco Bezzecchi officially left that crown behind him by posting a 1:58.4. Aprilia Racing's Maverick Vinales ended up only a tenth of a second adrift thanks to a lap posted in the closing minutes of the opening day of action. And it was Enea Bastianini who landed the first jab in a much talked about teammate duel with world champion Pecco Bagnaia, as the beast posted a 1:58.7 earlier this morning, a second adrift of the outright lap record here at the Sepang International Circuit. After Honda left 2022 behind with Marc Marquez's words of "with this bike we cannot fight for a championship" ringing in their ears, they threw the kitchen sink at it on the opening day of 2023, with Marquez having no fewer than 4 different bikes at his disposal throughout the course of the day. The 8-time world champion eventually finishing 12th overall, admitting afterwards that he feels that work still needs to be done. Joan Mir had 2 of the 2023 machines on his side of the box. The 2020 world champion eventually finishing 17th overall and 1.3 seconds adrift, whereas former Suzuki teammate and now new LCR Honda man Alex Rins was a place and a 10th behind Mir, having had a similar setup throughout the day. Takaki Nakagami meanwhile 22nd overall and 2.7 seconds back. It was a historic day for Ducati and MotoGP as well, as world champion Pecco Bagnaia debuted the #1 plate, the first time we've seen that in the Premier class for over a decade. A good opening day for Bagnaia as well, inside the top 5 and only 0.3 of a second away from Bezzecchi. A good day as well for Spain's Jorge Martin, the Prima Pramac racing man, unsurprisingly up there at the top. Let's not forget that he of course holds the lap records, the fastest ever lap around Sepang, and holds 3 of the 5 best ever laps we've seen in Malaysia. Some notable mentions for Ducati as well. Johann Zarco, 7th on day 1. Gresini Racing's Fabio Di Gianantonio, 8th overall. And 9th was Alex Marquez, making the Spaniard the fastest of the men to have swapped factories for 2023, only half a second away from Bezzecchi. Aside from the timesheets, which saw Maverick Vinales, of course, 2nd overall as previously mentioned, and Aleix Espargaro 6th overall, it was a busy day for the factory Nawali camp, with both Espargaro and Vinales having 3 bikes to test. One was a 2022 spec RSGP, and 2 of them were the 2023 specs, with both of them being incredibly positive about it afterwards. It's an evolution, not a revolution for Aprilia, as they debuted an updated aero package, a new tail unit, exhausts, a new swing arm, and a new chassis as well, as they look to try and make the final step towards World Championship glory. When it comes to their satellite squad, it was a day under the radar for Miguel Oliveira, the RNF MotoGP man, 14th overall, 1.2 seconds adrift, but they will be pleased with the progress of Raul Fernandez, only a 10th of a second and a place behind his Portuguese teammate in 15th. After a winter of wondering following their Valencia disaster, it was good news for Yamaha. Their 2023 engine is definitely providing the increased top speed that Fabio Quartararo and Franco Morbidelli have been crying out for. The Yamaha M1 at lunchtime was only a kilometre of an hour behind the best that Ducati could offer. Very promising signs indeed for the Frenchman and the Italian. It didn't particularly convert into lap times that will grab any headlines. Morbidelli finishing ahead of Quartararo, the last man inside the top 10, with Quartararo only a place behind in 11th, but promising signs on the opening day of testing in 2023 for the Iwata squad. Finally, let's look at KTM and GasGas. The Austrian manufacturers were hoping that 2023 was going to be the year that we see them finally challenging up at the top on a regular basis. And despite extensive work from Danny Pedrosa at the shakedown, and then here again today from Jack Miller, Brad Binder, Paul Espargaro and Augusto Fernandez on aerodynamic packages and new engines as well, the lap times didn't make good reading. The Australian, fastest of the lot, 16th, and unfortunately 1.3 seconds back. Meanwhile, for Fernandez, Espargaro and Binder, it was 19th, 20th and 21st. Plenty still to be done for KTM and Gas. So that's day one done of 2023, with Bezzecchi ridding his Rookie of the Year title and potentially saying that he is a man to watch this coming season. Still 2 days of action to go. 10 o'clock local time, it gets underway tomorrow with extensive coverage and analysis coming your way in After the Flag at 5:30 local time. You don't want to miss it as 2023 goes up a gear on Saturday.